Virgo, greetings. It is a pleasure to connect and share amidst such exciting, restless, action-packed, very real, very lively moments to be living on this planet. My name is Timothy, and this is an astrology forecast for the last week of June and the first week of July 2018. And this period can be as exciting, groundbreaking, and liberating as it can be overwhelming and exhausting and relentless and challenging. And there's a lot of action that is happening in the heavens, reflecting what is taking place for our human species down here on Earth. Tomorrow, June 26th, Mars is stationing retrograde at 9 degrees of Aquarius, conjoined the south node of the moon. And this is a rare and powerful Mars retrograde that can be causing much upheaval and many changes and adjustments, which can be going on from now through the next several months, really into the end of this year. You know, Mars is going to complete this retrograde in September as he moves over the south node of the moon once more in July 20th, and then makes a completing pass September 26th. So Mars retrograde is when we're going through huge amounts of adjusting and changing how we direct ourselves through life, how we use and spend our own physical energy, how we are oriented and aligned with our own personal will. So when any planet is retrograde, it becomes more introverted, it becomes more powerful. When a planet is shifting directions, there is a period of readjustment and self-reflection. And so as Mars is stationing now, there is a good opportunity to pause, to self-reflect on the changes that are really being asked of us right now. Because there is very much that is being asked of us right now as individuals and as a human species. And so Mars is causing us to reflect on how we are spending our energy, how we're connecting with groups, how we use technology. This Mars retrograde deals a lot with healing the sexual energy in terms of relationships, in terms of our own creative self-expression. And this Mars retrograde beginning in Aquarius desires liberation. Liberation from any past limiting circumstance or dynamics that prevents us from actualizing our will. Our will is important. In order to be healthy, living human beings, we must have this Martian drive, which allows us to orientate ourselves to our goals that actually matters, to protect and defend ourselves from the interferences that gets in the way, and to have the fire, the will, the drive, the confidence to initiate our own paths and to be the unique human beings that we are. And so without Mars, we would just be piles of dust being blown around in the wind. We must be aligned with our drive. We must be aligned with our desires, and our desires are important. This is a period of really looking at our desires. What do we need in terms of our connections, in terms of our directions, where we are spending our energy, our time, and our resources. Mars stationing retrograde on the moon's south node is bringing up past themes, how we've oriented ourselves to groups, society, technology, what's outside of ourselves. And there is a deep desire to progress, again, to liberate out of any limiting patterns that prevents us from actualizing our own individual desires. Desires are important, and because we're coming out of an age where many of the mainstream religious philosophical teachings have been about curving our desires or suppressing our desires or eliminating our desires, because there's this notion that we should be, unconditionally loving and sacrificing ourselves, putting ourselves last, as if that's what a good person does. However, when we do this type of subconscious or unconscious self-sacrificing and we are not aligned with our soul's desires, this causes deep upsets. This can cause trauma, anxiety, abuse, self-sacrifice that causes us to lose our health or lose our direction. So we cannot eliminate or suppress our desires. In fact, the universe is largely motivated, inspired, and created by our own desires. So we really have to look at, what do we want right now? What do we want, maybe in particular, in terms of how we are relating to groups, societies, movements, and technology? And the beautiful thing is, we truly live in a very unusual and unique age. I mean, all of these changes that are going on right now on the moon's nodes with this Mars retrograde is this reflecting on, hey, where are we now collectively in our evolution? What are the new directions that are opening up that we never knew were possible before, or we didn't realize was a priority? Because the traditions of the past and the expectations and the authorities made it seem like less of a priority. What are those priorities? What do you want to do? What is your ideal life? What are your goals? And of course, Mars is figuring this out right now, right? Because Mars is going to be retrograde from now until August 27th. So he's stationing at 9 degrees Aquarius and is moving back to 28 degrees, 30 minutes of Capricorn. So you really want to look at what's at the first 10 degrees of the fixed signs and the last degrees of the cardinal signs. These places in your charts and the planets at those points is where this readjustment, this rebooting, this reinvention and revolutionizing is taking place. And yes, it can be intense. Yes, it can be extremely frustrating. Yes, there can be instinctual reactions. Because again, when we suppress desires, when we ignore desires, when there's not enough time, because there's not enough money, or there's not enough space, or there's not enough resources, this creates anxiety. When we are fundamentally not getting one of the things that we need or we want on a deep level, that is acknowledging who we are, these are the desires that we're acknowledging. This is who I am. I can't just put away who I am. Well, when those things do get put away, it creates a loaded spring dynamic, whether or not we're aware of it. And then that loaded spring can very easily and effortlessly be triggered these weeks. And there can be tremendous emotional upheavals, releasing of anger or frustration or instinctual reactions. And of course, easier said than done. All this period is so much about relaxation, calming the nervous system, not being overly judgmental or taking things overly personally right now, because there's so many things that are going on. It's like we're in this very active chemical reaction, and domino effects can very easily happen, where heads start to butt in one another and wounds start to get prodded and reactions happen, and before long we're in fights, or we're regurgitating, or we're freaking out, and we may not even know why. It's really important to pause, to slow down, to check in as much as humanly possible right now. And when and if we get our wounds triggered, or we have instinctual reactions, let this not be a symptom of us failing or a sign of everything that we're doing wrong. Because it's so easily to feel this way, or to take these things personally, or to take our redundant failures so personally, we get really dragged down. And this is a time where we can easily get dragged down. We need to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We need to remember to honor and cherish and nurture and love our own inner child. Even when everything on the outside seems so convincingly to tell us the story that we cannot do that, that that's not important, or that we do not deserve that. All souls deserve that, particularly in this day and age. And the most angry, reactive, violent souls need it the most. And so when we're reacting or we're regurgitating or vomiting up our own suppressed desires or anger or frustration or creative tension, let this be a trail of breadcrumbs that we are following to find what the root issues are. What causes the anxiety? What causes the unrest? What causes the frustration? And follow it in, follow it in. And again, this Mars retrograde happening on the moon's south node can take us way back to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, our childhood, our early experiences in life that originally taught us this is how to handle anxiety. This is how to handle the upsets, the trauma, the unexpected shifts that go on in our world. And so maybe we had early experiences where we began to bury our head in the sand or form these addictive coping mechanisms or these ways of dealing with other people that wasn't exactly aligned with what our soul truly desires. And yet it formed out of a need to create a barrier to prevent us from feeling those anxieties or those upsetting emotions or feelings or the overstimulation of the world or the groups, the schools, or the bombardment of the fluorescent lighting and the technology and the sound and light pollution, etc., etc., etc. Again, a part of this period is in healing our physical body, healing how we function in the world, so to be empowered, so to be spiritual warriors. And we're healing the coping mechanisms surrounding an anxiety and trauma that actually prevents this deeper healing and actualization from taking place. We live in a day and age where we can choose the information, the people that we hang around, the groups that we're connected to, the stimulation that's going on around us. It may not happen overnight that we can make the transitions into a perfect world, as we'll talk about. This is not a time where it is easy to have the ideal family living on the mountainside in perfect paradise. We do have to make the best of where we are right now. You know, that's the part of the lesson of this period is it's one day at a time. You know, it's just moving forward. You live and you learn, and we put in the effort anyways, because we must, if we're going to keep our head above water, and if we're going to initiate the progress that can take us into those ideal realms, we have to start now, and we have to start with what we are given. And so this is the adjusting and the experimentation and the reprioritization that will take us through the next several months. And right now, we certainly may not feel like we have everything figured out. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's who we're going to connect with. Here's the activities we'll do. Here's how it's all going to move smoothly and flowingly. No, it's an experiment. It's an exploration. And it is an effort through trial and error to start to move things forward in a better and progressive direction. But with Mars retrograde all through July and all August, there can be many challenges, obstacles, trial and error. That is inherent within the potential for us to create real changes that take us very far. So are these transits easy and serve to us on a silver platter? No. But is there ever good or bad or truly easy or difficult in astrology? No. There's a huge amount of potential right now to make huge changes that can change the course of our life from here on out. Now, this is a deep healing period, like we said, not only with Mars retrograde, but Chiron stationing retrograde. Chiron will station Thursday, July 5th at 2 degrees of Aries. And so this Chiron is in Aries, ruled by Mars, stationing trine to the moon's north node. This is a powerful opportunity to get down to business with the healing journey. And oftentimes the healing journey is awakened through healing crises or the experience of the wound. This is what's not working. I don't feel alive. I don't feel aligned with my willpower. I am not actualizing my sexual desires. I feel this frustration. I feel stuck. Can be part of the Chiron crises that is awakening the healing journey. And this is very much the healing of the masculine. Mars stationing retrograde, Chiron in Aries, the sign of the masculine stationing retrograde. The masculine is inherent within all people and all genders. It is the warrior part of ourself that is confident and capable of initiating new directions without needing the pats on the back, the support of a million people. Now, support is important. I should reflect and refrain, okay? With this Mars retrograde in Aquarius, I want to actually say that we do need support. We do need groups. But the Mars healing that's taking place is we may need the confidence, the safety, the willpower to change the groups that we've been hanging with, rather than just sacrificing or throwing ourselves under the bus and, you know, submitting to whatever group or people or circumstance that is around us. So we do need support groups. We do need friends. We do need people to talk with and to work things out with. Whenever we're overcoming addictions, we need a group. Whenever we're dealing with relationship difficulties, we need a group. So we do need these groups, but we also need the willpower to make changes. And if the old group isn't giving us permission, we have to find the confidence to initiate these changes in ourselves, to open up the direction of the future into newer possibilities. So this Chiron retrograde, healing the masculine, it can be a personal healing crisis that is awakening our healing journey. And Chiron in Aries is about ending the patterns of victimization, being a victim to what's outside of us, being a victim to technology, a victim to circumstance, a victim of the past, a victim of our history. This is the opportunity to end these things by initiating ourselves into the spiritual warriors that we are. And so Chiron stationing trine to the North Node in Leo is this healing journey that is healing the confidence to express ourselves as we are, the unique human beings that we are. We can say that the inner child is going through a healing right now. You know, part of the masculine, I feel, is a childlike nature in a certain facet because he's spontaneous. This is what I want. Just like how a child says, "Hey, Ma, can I have an ice cream cone?" when the ice cream truck rolls by. That is our innocence, that spontaneity, that desire drive. This is the masculine healing itself, healing our spontaneous self-expression, our ability to play, to release who we really are, to sing our song spontaneously, unabashedly, not worrying about the criticisms or the feedback of others. That's the liberation that's going on right now. North Node in Leo is healing our soul, our inner child, that part of ourself that releases whatever song we like to sing in the shower when nobody else is around. We're healing that spontaneous, creative self-expression and innocence. And that's the opportunity with this Chiron station and all of the emotional purging that can go on. All of the challenges can be in service of that deeper healing that is so important at this time. And yet it can be very challenged, very frustrating at this time as well. There can be so many things, so many obstacles, so many walls, so many deficits, so many things that we don't have that are lacking, that this can be very challenging not to remain doubtful. Is this even possible? Can we even heal? Can we even trust the positive words coming out of Tim's mouth, you know? And so lo and behold, we are coming into a full moon in Capricorn. And I find that this full moon, the full moons aligned with the Capricorn Cancer polarity, tend to be some of the most powerful in this day and age, I find, because it strikes a collective chord. We're coming out of these ages of patriarchy that have been very, physical survival and be strong and overcome any weakness or emotional vulnerability, to take control of our world and to fight our enemies, you know? It's been all work, no play. And this full moon every year tends to bring up that dynamic, particularly this year, because this is a full moon not only in Capricorn, but conjoined the Lord of Capricorn himself, Saturn, the planet of karma, the planet of time, the planet of limitations, obstacles, and doubts. And is this planet that can represent all of these major challenges, is he a bad guy? No. This is a planet that initiates us into mastery. And the way that I like to think of Saturn is he's like the mean high school teacher that flunks us the whole damn year and we hate him and we put in so many hours to pass his test. And when we finally graduate the class, he gives us a funny look with the twinkle in his eye and he says, "Don't you know I did all this for you? I wanted you to see how strong you are and how much you can overcome." And sometimes Saturn likes to challenge us by creating situations that seem impossible, or situations that cause so much doubt that we just want to give up. And yet doubt in itself, or our own inner face of doubt, our own inner voice of doubt, is the faith tester who says, you know what, maybe you won't get to your goals. Maybe you won't get back to your innocence. Maybe you won't fix these long outstanding patterns from the past. But in testing our faith, it actually challenges our faith to strengthen and grow. We must keep our chin up at this time. We must remember our inner child. We must try to have fun, to let go, even if it's watching a children's television cartoon, whatever it may be, the little bits and pieces. We need to remember that we haven't lost hope when hope becomes challenged. Saturn can be the creativity killer. I want to do this in order to feel safe. I want to do this in order to feel like I can relax. And we need to do these things to relax and calm our nervous system. And yet Saturn can say, yes, but there's no money. There's no resources. There's no time. There's no capability to settle down. There's no freedom to breathe. And this full moon in Saturn is quincunx to the North Node, making it very challenging to come into this soul's healing. And yet the opportunity is here for some profound mastery. Yes, we do have to get down to business. It's like we have to learn how to play again. We have to learn how to get down to business in order to create the life that honors our life, our love, and our relationships, our families, basically from the ground up. And these are dark periods to be alive. I'm sorry to be the deliverer of bad news, but shouldn't we acknowledge the weather, the season that we're in while we're going through it? These can be incredibly dark and hopeless feeling times to be alive on this planet. Pluto is exactly on his own south node. These are renowned to be some of the darkest periods in mankind's history, where we're seeing everything that's wrong with the world, everything that's wrong with our past, governments, cultures, and traditions. And we're really seeing it right now. And it can be painful. Again, it's like we're recognizing this anxiety and this trauma that can be rooted in the past. And we can be awakening to why. This is what's going on in our world. This is the world we were born into. This is how people handle and cope with these dynamics. And so this is a period where if we can stay awake, if we can stay aware, and if we can be aware of the darkness and be aware of how challenging and troubling these times are and not abandon ship, then we can make it through almost anything. So again, this is the birth of the spiritual warrior. This is, we want to be our own simultaneous mother, nurturing, loving our inner child. It's okay. You're going to be safe. We can make it through to the other end, all right? And simultaneously, we're being our own inner drill sergeant. But we need to step up. But we need to keep going. but we need to wake up and to have your morning ritual that allows you to be in your integrity, that allows you to be in your energy, that allows you to be in your truth. Because when we get stuck in a downward spiral, it is so easy to lose ourselves to the gravity and the momentum of the collective, which is an extremely heavy and dark field. We have to break out of this field if we want to have any hope of change or something that is different from what we see out there. And so this full moon is conjunct Saturn, but Saturn is retrograde, which means that this is an opportunity to create changes to these structures, to create changes to these traditions, how we handle society, our relationship to culture, our relationship to our job, to money, to tradition, and the expectations and obligations of the outer world and authorities. This is about disconnecting, unplugging the cables, the electrical outlets that cause us to be overstimulated, that cause us to lose ourselves and our integrity by creating change. We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We're not destroying our culture. We're not throwing out all of our religious beliefs. We are not throwing out all of our relationships. We don't just want pure, raw, unadulterated independence with no connection. We want independence within our relationships. We want freedom within our work. We want to be capable and confident in our involvement with society and the world. And so here are the creative challenges that are inviting the creative solutions, so that way we can do all of the above better than we've ever known was possible in the past. And through meeting the challenges and being flexible, patient, and willing to learn through trial and error, we can make the absolute best of this time. Who cares how many business failures you've had, how many relationship failures you've had, how disappointing you've been to your parents or your exes, etc., etc. What are you now? Who are you today? Who are you becoming? What are you doing? And this is the healing that is happening as we step into our will. Fortunately, there are some magical transits here to help us. There is a beautiful trine between Jupiter and Neptune, and Jupiter is stationing direct on Tuesday, July 10th at 13 degrees Scorpio. Check the middle of the water signs in your chart, and this is where there can be some mystical, magical, intuitive awakening that is guiding us from a very deep, even mysterious place. This deep, mysterious guidance and the hope, the light at the end of the tunnel is there. And moving into the first couple weeks of July, we can really start to move in this momentum and try out the new directions, pick ourselves up again, and remember our deeper truth. Remember what life is all about. Jupiter will whisper to us. Neptune will whisper to us. Remember your connection to spirit. Remember that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Remember how magic and how amazing it is to be a human being, and the potential of our own consciousness to create ideal realities by allowing our imagination to guide us, by allowing enthusiasm to be breathed back into our life, and ambition to raise us up from the old dying carcass of the past, like a phoenix arising from the ashes. This is the time for us to let go of all that needs to be removed and bring in all that needs to be brought in rejuvenation and renewal. Friday, July 5th, the sun trines Jupiter, and then Saturday, July 8th, the sun trines Neptune. This beautiful grand trine can be inspiration. The first weekend of July, pray to the goddess of inspiration. Guide me, lead me forward, take me into the new land, take me into the new dimension, show me the light at the end of the tunnel, show me divine inspiration, And she will come. She will come even if it comes in most mysterious and unknown ways. And even if we are following this mysterious and unknown guidance, that can be the trail of breadcrumbs leading us to safety once again. Mercury moves into Leo Friday, June 19th, moves over the North Node July 3rd and opposes Mars July 5th. There's this creative frustration that we want to express our truth, our real creativity, to sing our song of who we are and how we want to connect and share ourselves with others. This opportunity for releasing our brilliance. And again, as long as we can be patient, as long as we can calm our nervous system enough to not overreact, there are golden opportunities for us to connect with new ways of sharing ourselves and our expression that is actually inspirational, that allows us to remember our heart, that inner child that just wants to play, that just wants to sing. That creative genius can be leading us forward into new identities, new ways of expressing ourselves that are more liberated than what we've known before. And Venus enters the sign of Virgo on July 9th. And there's this opportunity to really get down to business in our relationships. This can be a very challenging time in relationships with this recent Venus-Mars opposition on June 21st, the last summer solstice. It's a period of healing, creative incubation. Jupiter stationing in Scorpio is what? This awakening of what is going on way beneath the surface in our unconsciousness. Well, when we're in relationships, a huge dynamic of relationships going from Libra into Scorpio is we become made aware of our unconsciousness, which can be very alarming, very disconcerting. Holy shit, I had no idea that all of this activity was going on beneath the surface until all of a sudden I'm reacting and spilling the beans with other people and they're calling me out for it. Now I have a mirror that's held up in my face and I'm looking at a monster that I've never known before. This can be challenging as much as it can be so illuminating. This is reality. Saturn full moon in Capricorn. This is real. This isn't about escapism. This isn't about just idle chit-chat or talking or just running away into the next teaching to avoid what's going on in three-dimensional reality. So we're having to address these issues, and relationships can be going through changes. This can be very challenging. Again, this can be romantic in the most fiery, exciting, and potentially devastating, sadomasochistic Romeo and Juliet tragedy type of way, you know? So long, see ya. It's not working. You're not who I thought you were. Or this is what we need to do to create a totally new dynamic. So the blessing of Venus moving into Virgo is we can commit to the work that we need to do to serve our own healing as well to serve others, to create a mutual balance and harmony in our lives. Asteroid Juno, the partnership asteroid, is moving into Taurus and will conjoin Uranus on Thursday, July 5th. It's this opportunity to reinvent how we're doing relationship in order to feel peace. And a key here is sovereignty. We have to have the space to process and digest the immensity that's going on before we run back into our relationships and our unconsciousness smash into each other and everything blows up again. It's a very intense and powerful time to be alive. There's so much good work and positive change that we can bring in now, but we do have to be willing to be strong, to be able to lift ourselves up when it doesn't happen overnight. And if we can be open to the long-term, deep, total rewrite of our story, our life, our identity, and our drive, this can be a chapter that is ending an old book. And it's like there is a before this point and there's an after this point. And after this point, everything is different. Things are not about to slow down or calm down here on planet Earth. And if we can get down with it, then we can seize the day in a very potentially inspiring and progressive way rather than feeling like it's never going to end. The question to ask now is not when it's going to end. The question is, what can we do today? And so the excitement continues because from here on out, we've got eclipses. The next new moon is a partial solar eclipse in Cancer opposite to Pluto. So talk about a self-identity rewrite. This is the time. We can hit the reset button. We can write a new chapter. We can begin a new life, a new relationship, a new reality here and now. It may not happen overnight, but the seed is sown, the sprout is coming up, and now it's all about the work that we're doing to allow this thing to continue to grow as potently, as strong as it can be. Are we creating a fortress around this plant? Do we need to create a gate? Do we need to gather the materials? Do we need to create more light? Do we need to bring in more water? What do we need to be in our soul's integrity, to be aligned with what's actually going on in the world without sacrificing our personal desires, so we can be satisfied by contributing and connecting with others in life and being aligned with our personal and individual truth, willpower, and drive simultaneously. So I am wishing you all the best in this giant experiment and trial and error. And please do take care. Please do be patient and take the time to breathe as we move through this tremendous new birthing of a brand new world and era. So again, take care, and I'm wishing all the best to both yourself and all of your beloveds. Announcements. All of this Martian activity in the months to come is too much for any one astrologer to handle or to forecast, which is why there's more than one weather forecast in the world as well. So coming up this Friday, June 30th, if you're interested, I am doing a webinar with myself and the members of the New Paradigm Astrology community. Me and 6 other astrologers are doing a workshop on the energy of this summer, relationships, freedom, liberation, releasing the sexual drive. And so we're doing a free workshop this Friday, and click the link below to tune into this information. And if you're called to participate, you can sign up for this workshop, and there'll be a boatload of more information, activities, and awareness coming your way. Please sign up for my Patreon community if you're interested in learning more astrology. You can get one of these nifty transit calendars once a month, live Q&A, one-on-one personal interaction. You can post questions whenever you want. I put a monthly horoscope posted and written every month. And I'm very much working on trying to get a new online forum together for my Patreon page. I'm going to try not to get into a rant right now, but it's actually really hard to do because Facebook and social media has killed the online forum, smaller, close-knit communities. And so I'm working on getting this close-knit community online forum constructed, and that's part of my own work and trial and error through this Mars retrograde period. So again, a lot of excitement, a lot of potential for connecting, and as always, I would love to hear your own creative suggestions or what you would like to get out of this channel or my Patreon community as well. So there we go. Those are my announcements. Again, please do take care, and wishing you all the best.